That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to the Modern Campus Project, the Higher Ed PM, a brand new 4-part pulse check series from Enrollify. I'm Jake Tolman, the CEO of Mainform Consulting, a seasoned project management consultant with over a decade of experience specializing in technology system integrations, digital transformation, and project leadership within the higher education sector. In this series, we'll do 3 things. Set the foundation of what modern project management looks like with AI, campus-ready language that gets presidents, provosts, and frontline staff moving in sync, and step-by-step plans to build your AI PM skills without the migraines. Now, let's get into today's episode. All right, welcome listeners. Thank you so much for joining us today. In this episode, we're going to be diving into one of the most important skills a project manager can develop right now, learning to partner with AI. We're not talking about automating yourself out of a job, no, but we're talking about delivering better work, clear insights, and stronger value to every team member and stakeholder that you work with. So to explore that, I'm joined by someone who sits right at the intersection of project delivery and data analysis, the amazing Ben Burke. Ben, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Thanks, Jake. I'm really glad to be here. So Ben Burke, I am a senior data scientist, been in the consulting world for over a decade. And actually, my background is in business analysis and data science, and a little bit of project management, but I never, I only claim to play one on TV. So my father was a senior project manager, and he taught me a lot of the principles, and I learned a great lesson that I am not going to be a project manager, but how much I value them. So my career has now been, how can I manage and merge the 2 disciplines of project management or just business analysis, and then also data and any type of data projects, be it engineering and data science and now AI together. So that's the impetus for my new company that I've created, Between the Data, where we coach now teams how to build the right things and how to manage projects appropriately with data science.
Excellent. Yeah, Ben, you and I, we have a long history together. We first met in 2006. We lived together at college. We've worked together. Our families, we have vacationed together. There is no one who is just sits perfectly at this position. Ben's expertise in analytics and AI just make Ben the perfect guy, not to mention his soft skills and his character when it comes to just being well-grounded, authentic individual. His experience in the industry is second to none. So I'm thrilled to actually be working with Ben here to discuss collaborating with AI to create these meaningful outputs in these projects. So Ben, when you think about project management, now you said you only play project manager on a DV, but you still recognize project management game, right? What a good project manager needs to bring to the table and how a good project manager needs to work with their excellent partners and team members in order to deliver the value that the project needs. So when you think about project managers partnering with AI, what does that actually mean beyond just using an AI tool?
With AI and with a lot of the technical disciplines that project managers are involved with, they have to understand at least the fundamentals. And if that's in web development, then you have to know the difference between a back-end and front-end web development. If that's in data, you have to understand what a pipeline is. Now with AI, you have to understand the fundamentals there too. And that is specifically like, what's a prompt? What's an agent? What's a tool? You don't need to understand that an LLM is based upon rigorous training, trained on a bunch of NVIDIA chips that have giant GPUs or TPU processors, and that's trained on billions of rows of data. And then potentially it's, additional metadata that's developed off of that, and how also they're tested and trained and red teamed, etc. All you need to understand is the fundamentals and understanding of like, okay, what is an input that I give to AI and what output can I expect from it?
Excellent. And so when you talk about just like using these tools, I want to draw a line here in the sand. A lot of work goes in today in discussing about AI literacy, right? Understanding, yes, the prompts, the tools, the systems. But I want to focus more accurately, more specifically on AI fluency, right? When we talk about the difference between literacy and fluency, literacy, yes, I can read a book. Fluency is I know the language. I can communicate with you. So what does AI fluency look like for a project manager? And thinking about in the realm of the projects you've worked on, and maybe perhaps speak to a little bit to our higher ed campus partners.
Yeah, so I think with AI and what's fun and exciting and also maybe a little annoying about AI is that um, right now at this time in the end of 2025, AI is constantly changing. I mean, it only came into the ecosystem just a few years ago. So everything is new, and all of these terms are developing either by companies or by kind of the entire ecosystem and professional industries, kind of defining out what these things are. So I think yes, first you have to understand what AI is. What's the literacy like? What is a prompt? What's an agent? What's a tool that you can use to it? Maybe you can understand what RAG is to do that type of research, right? And then if you want to understand and start being like fluency in it, is to start getting your hands dirty in it. AI is one of the most accessible tools out there. So if you were a PM before managing web and software developers, it was probably difficult for you to get into the actual code and start doing HTML or CSS or TypeScript or whatever development language. But AI is so ubiquitous now. There's so many avenues that you can get on. You can spin up a ChatGPT, you can go to claude.com, and whether it's create a free profile or not, you can now in your browser, if you're using Chrome, you can hit tab and automatically it goes to AI mode and everything. And that's very simple process for you to be able to get in, start talking to an LLM, start talking to AI and understand and start getting some output there.
Nice. I remember when, even as early as Halloween or as late as Halloween this year, talking with lots of project managers in and inside and outside of my portfolio and my circle of influence, how many are afraid to do that? How many are afraid to open up the browser and go to one of these AI tools and open things up and get started? There's a lot of fear around the unknown, and just like you said, AI is changing rapidly. If you don't like the AI tool that you're working with today, just wait 15 minutes. It'll change, right? It'll update. Uh, and the AI tools that we use today are the worst ones we'll ever use because they're constantly going to be improving. They're constantly going to be better. Um, so when we talk about AI literacy, from a project management standpoint, I would encourage our users and our listeners to not get so caught up in the technical minutia of how an LLM model works and how it integrates, but just as they do today with the team member, understanding functionally what that person does, right? You know what a developer does, you know what a QA does. Even if you don't know specifically how it's done, you don't need to write C#, you don't need to understand Selenium, but you do need to understand the function and the purpose, the value add that they provide. And AI is generally looked at as it can do anything, it can improve anything. Well, it's kind of impossible to analyze anything and everything. But when you narrow it down to a specific item that you want to work on, whether it's writing a report, whether it's mapping out dependencies, whether it's understanding risk analysis, or writing a user story, when you give it something specific that you want it to do and the context to do it in, bingo. Now that you've got an AI partner that can help accelerate a specific task that you're working on. What's your insight on that? Would you agree? Would you add any color?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I can understand there's some hesitancy to get involved in new technology. And probably there's security risk as well. Like people are worried about, personal identifiable information going on the web and whatnot. So you don't put in, any information that you don't want OpenAI or Anthropic or anybody to have, right? But that doesn't mean that you can't start having conversations with it and have it start doing things. Now, what becomes really powerful is when you have a prompt. Let's just say like you have a set specific block of text and what you can do is you can, in that block of text, you can have just one word or one space be transferable, where you can input something in a different context. So let's say, for example, hey, I have a meeting that I just finished. Here's all the text from the meeting. Can you break it down into a specific format for me? You define what that format is, right? You can have it in a JSON, you can have it in bulletins, you can have numbers, pull out the top 5 pieces of context, etc. Now that is a prompt. That's a set text right there. And all you have to do is copy that from your OneNote or wherever, paste it into the AI, and then the AI is going to say, great, where's the Zoom text? Where's the speech to text, whatever. And you feed that in there, and then you have a repeatable process, something that is available to you that, took before, maybe 10, 30 minutes of your time to be able to organize all your notes and gather all the right to-dos. And now you have AI actually doing something practical for you in the end.
Mm-hmm. So an exercise that I'm having my project managers do with their respective efforts is using AI to generate a project discovery agenda. These are things that they will take to the table with their business partners, with their stakeholders, with their team members, but allowing them to come through and say, this is the discovery effort that we need to make for Q1 of next year or the first half of 2026. And they're using that to generate that fast insight, that those key things, and they're using the feature requests from their product managers or the product owners or their business partners, and they're saying, all right, we need to take these feature requests and do an in-depth discovery. Where do we begin? What are the initial questions? And then they have guidance for discussions and guidance for critical thinking and identifiers for what risks to look out for and call for. So if you and I were to role play a little bit, you are an excellent analyst and a dangerous data scientist. As you work with excellent project managers, what do you look for as their output that would help you succeed in your role?
Oh, man. So I love project managers because they do all the things I don't want to do. Project managers are able to, one, understand the context of a project, and then help keep me on track of what needs to get done. And then two, they're able to look into the future and see a bunch of roadblocks. They're able to see chaos coming that's going to put our project in jeopardy. So those two things are things that I would rely on you as a project manager to help me with. I can go and do the actual development work. I can go and break something down. I can develop an AI robot, but I need somebody to help and say, hey, this is the next thing that you need to do. Oh, and by the way, we have these things coming down the line in about 2 months that we need to keep our minds on top of.
And as someone who is a master of AI, how would you hope that your project manager could leverage AI to deliver something that is high quality and reliable?
So I think that there's a lot of sources that project managers can take into account. The one thing that I love that my favorite project managers have just been distilled information. It can be a lot as an analyst or as a developer to go from code and then context switch to conversations and then take that conversation and go to another meeting. If I am able to stay locked in and develop, then that context switch and that time to switch between, they say that even if you get distracted from your coding for a minute, it still takes you about 5 to 8 minutes to get back to where you were going and get back to what you were doing. So if you have maybe 3 meetings throughout that day, you have to context switch in and out, back and forth, and you lose 10 minutes. So that's about 30 minutes just right there in losing time context switching, and maybe even more if you're being interrupted. Maybe a project manager is asking questions, etc. So AI is going to be really good and is very good at distilling information down and gathering information out of the things that I'm doing in my Jira stories. PMs can take notes for me in the meetings. I don't have to be in the meetings. I can just react to what they're saying at the end of the day, whatever. Something that will just help me be able to stay locked in my development as long as possible.
Fantastic. Now, as a data scientist, part of your job is to tell an accurate story. right? To take what inputs you've received, what observations you've taken, the outputs to any processes, and illustrate the story to the stakeholders, to the business persons, so they can then make data informed decisions as well as emotionally supported decisions. Uh, so talk to me about how you see AI facilitating that storytelling.
Yeah. So, it's funny. I when I think about I think AI is going to be able to do a lot of the small different tasks for us, right? It's going to be able to help me with my coding. It's going to be able to help us distill project meetings. It's going to help us uh, just kind of take care of a lot of the minutia. And the thing that's going to be left for us is to be able to actually sit down and talk to each other. And that's going to be something that is a soft skill that we're going to have to get better at, is communicating one-on-one. And I think part of any project, you need to have time that you take outside of actual development work. And you need to, as a developer, I need to go and take this to somebody, and I need to say, hey, what do you think about this? Now, the one way that I can go and communicate that is I can throw it up to AI and I can say, hey, create some type of UI for me, right? Take this, I want you to make a quick Streamlit app, and something that can be clickable by the PM or by the business user or whatever, that they can go and they can interact with it and they can get feedback on it. And then I can go and have a conversation with them, and they can have something tangible that they can touch and they can feel and they can test. And that is, I don't have to develop it. AI is going to be able to display that for them, and something that they can touch, and maybe some type of wireframe and usable demo. And then I can get direct feedback from them in that meeting, but I can be present with them because I have an AI over here taking notes for me, and I can just ask questions, and then I don't have to remember and be taking notes and be half distracted. They can come back and they can say, or I can go look at those notes later and understand what their reactions were. I can probably even get sentiment analysis out of it to understand if they did or did not like it, and just remember all of the context from that conversation, so that way I can use it moving forward.
Here's a quick word from our sponsor. Southeast Missouri State University needed to launch more targeted campaigns faster, yet they were bogged down by manual campaign builds, slow approvals, and vendor overload. With Element 451, they eliminated 5 vendor tools and gained marketing superpowers in one platform. They saw a 13% increase in applications, processed applications within 2 days, and achieved 33 to 35% email open rates. The impact: personalized, automated campaigns running at scale without the drag. Ready to turn your next campaign around in hours, not weeks? Try an agent today at element451.com/agents.
That's awesome. You talk about the soft skills that we need to retain and probably enhance and improve across the board, right? You touched on the first one, which I think is the single most critical skill set of any effective project manager or leader at any level in the organization. That is communication. Now, I think all of us who have had more than 5 minutes on an AI tool of your choice will recognize that the communication abilities of AI out of the box are slightly better than mediocre. Out of the box, pick your tool, it's slightly better than mediocre simply because it's been trained on everything. And the average of everything is slightly mediocre. And I fear that most people will give up at that point. They'll realize, this doesn't sound anything like me. This isn't quality. This doesn't sound good. This doesn't flow right. This isn't my voice. This isn't the voice of our institution. This doesn't sound right. But we can't let ourselves give up there, because there are ways to train the AI tool of choice to be specific to a style or to a voice or to a brand. And when you take the time to train that model, that ends up rendering dividends like crazy down the road, as it starts to learn your voice and learn how you like to speak, or learn how your campus or your team likes to speak, and building communication around that particular model and mode. If we can learn how to do that, how to train a model, then there's a lot of communication pieces that we no longer have to keep ourselves up at night worrying about. There are three other key skill sets, and I wonder if you would add to this list, Ben. Three other key skill sets. So number one is going to be communication. Number two, negotiation. Number three is conflict resolution. And fourth and final is going to be critical thinking. And no one above the other, no one more important than the other, but all four of those together can make any AI user infinitely more productive, effective, and impactful with their AI tools that can then accelerate the things that can be automated and deliver more rapidly those things that are time sensitive. But with those four skills, communication, negotiation, conflict resolution, and critical thinking, apply those with alongside AI, and I feel like anyone is going to suddenly become a one-person army. What do you think would contribute to that? Do you agree with that? Are there any things that would be missing there?
I'm going to throw a statistic at you that I just read recently about PMs and AI, if I could.
Fire away.
I read that 80% of project management tasks are going to be run by AI within the next 5 years.
Wild.
Now, I don't want that to scare you, right? Because one, like, there's two sides to look at this, right? All the 80% of your tasks that you're doing right now are going to be run by AI. Now, that's one side of saying, like, okay, I'm going to be 20%, and they're going to pay, like, a company's going to pay me 20% because AI is going to be doing that, right? But I think on the other side of that coin to look at, and this is the side that I choose to look at, which is a lot more practical, is that I am going to be having AI do 80% of my work moving forward. And it's going to open me up to do a bunch of other things that I've never had time for or never really done before. So I think what you've said with your communication and what you've said with some of your tasks are right on par. But I think there's going to be additional things that we're going to discover that AI can do for us, right? So yes, it's going to help us red team our ideas. It's going to help us better communicate, and it's going to help us, I think, critical think about problems. But we're going to start coming up with future opportunities, mechanisms for simply just accomplishing the projects that we have and doing more than what we've done in the past.
That's incredible. 80% of a project manager's task load today is going to be automated by AI in 5 years. To me, that screams Pareto principle, right? And let's take a step back there, because listeners are going to hear that, and especially on the project manager's side, those who hold that title or hold that hat, they're going to panic at this, right? But let's take a step back and let's realize that not all tasks are valued equally. And so when you follow the Pareto principle, we know that 20% of the work you do generates 80% of the value that you're being paid for. The other 80% of what you have to do generates about 20% of what you're being paid for, 20% of the value that you're being paid for. So if you're actually able to cut back 80% of the tasks that you have to do so that you can focus and become more expert, a better craftsman, a better leader in what that remains there of the 20% of that is strictly human centric, then your earnings potential actually increase. When you can successfully manage and delegate and offload the less valuable tasks, your earning potential will increase when you can do this. You think about the accountants when Excel came in. People panicked thinking that the accounting role was going to go away. No, just the pen and paper pencil accountant efforts went away. A lot more people were able to become accountants because of Excel. And so when we look at AI and project management, and so much is going to be automated, I think this opens the door for a lot more people to enter the space and to learn the space and to become proficient and excellent in things that maybe in the past they haven't had time for. So that's a really exciting metric, Ben. I'm glad you pointed that out.
I think to kind of go off that, this is kind of a colloquial saying that's been going around, but it's not, AI is not going to be taking your job. What it's going to be is that people who know AI are going to be the ones taking your job, right? It's not that Excel took their job. It's that the people who knew how to use Excel took their jobs, or people who were able to upskill in Excel or upskill in, fill in the blank are going to be the ones who will move forward in this new life. So I think some people are afraid of AI, but I honestly think, and my personal theory is that AI really just feels like cheating.
Right? It does. I've seen a lot of campuses are saying like AI is absolutely forbidden in our classrooms. And I've seen other campuses that say, if you don't use AI in this class, please don't take it.
Yeah. You're not going to be prepared for the real world. And it has accelerated just about everything. Now, does AI get things wrong? Can it hallucinate? Et cetera? Yes, of course it can. But I think,
like any human,
that's exactly right. I think we are scared of how unlocked we are really going to be. And we think we have to be the ones to solve these specific problems that AI is doing, right? We need to be the ones to punch the numbers in the calculator in order to get that specific sum out. But we need to rise above this one level thinking of where we've been to stage 2 or to stage 3 and think, okay, if AI is able to do these small tasks, if it's able to take notes for me, if it's able to generate responses for me, or if it's able to, to summarize all of this stuff, it's able to do some of this coding for me, what's the thing that I can do better now because of those things that it's able to do? And it's, yes, it feels like cheating. Yes, it's going to do these high level tasks, these low level tasks. So what's going to be left? That's what we have to discover.
Ben, that's an awesome soundbite there. We are afraid of being unlocked. We have been living in the confines of our own knowledge for generations, right? That's all all we know is all we've ever known. And now we have this chance to unlock ourselves, unlock our critical thinking, and to find truth, to define our truth. And we could get into a whole another episode about objective versus subjective truth and what is real, what is not real, right? But if we just talk about the individual, because it does come down to that, individually, what are we ready for? Are we ready to accelerate our knowledge? Are we ready to accelerate our careers, our growth? Are we ready and okay to let go of things that have been good in favor of things that are better or best for ourselves, for our teams, for our departments and campuses? And AI can help us go beyond that. And just like any muscle growth, it's going to hurt at first as we develop those skills, and as we let go of things that have kept us safe and has kept us employed and have helped us find identity. Are we okay and ready to let those go in favor of greater things that AI can help us accomplish?
And you don't want to do it blindly, right? You don't want to just jump into it and accept anything that the AI is going to tell you. You definitely want to put guardrails in that you can check up against. Maybe have some calculations or some verifications up there. Some of these, like, we'll go back to the notes example. Somebody sends out notes. You have to read over the notes. You have to read over what the AI is saying, right? And say, and you can feel free to put in your email and say, like, this was generated by AI. If there's any issues, make sure that if you disagree with anything that was said, just put it in this email and reply to it. But even then, it saved you, 20 minutes to do that. As we think about these tasks that we have, that we've been doing for a while, how can we give some of that, not the thoughts necessarily, but mainly the outputs, mainly the exertion to AI to be able to flex its muscles so we can flex some other muscles?
There is a group of people, and I've counted myself among this group of people in the past, and I'm looking to be more nuanced and be more careful in this, who say that by outsourcing a lot of that struggle, a lot of that critical thinking to AI, robs us of our own development. So as a kind of a parting thought here towards the end of this episode, tell me about how you see analysts or developers or PMs or heavy AI users retaining our critical thinking skill sets through the adoption and scaling of AI.
Yeah, I'll have to apologize to your listeners because I really feel like we've talked very high level. We have not talked actionable things to do.
Mhm.
But I think in this world, AI has to make you more critical in the things that you're doing, right? It's like you are now an architect, and you are now a boss, and you have these workers that are able to do a lot of different things. So you have to understand strategically what you want done, who you want it done by, and how you would like it done. You can write those processes down. You can map them out sequentially and how and when they should be getting done, right? You can write down a prompt with a persona saying you are an expert in grading papers. You are an expert in providing feedback to a student. You're an expert in marketing, and you can dictate what you want them to do, and you can feed them different content for each one. But you're the one now understanding and being the coach, whereas before you were the player. But now you have a lot more, I would say, critical thinking objectives that you have to do because you have now employees that you can develop or deploy at any time.
That's brilliant. So you're saying that we are all architects. We are all process engineers. We are all managers now. And as we create and assign AI resources to specific tasks or jobs, uh, it behooves us. We are therefore the onus is on us to be more of a critical thinker in creating and assigning and delegating, monitoring and controlling and ensuring that the value of these AI tools are delivered the way they're expected. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. If you're a professor and you're trying to grade papers, for example, right?
Mhm.
You have maybe one or two agents and they point out things that you're specifically looking for. And you can say, I'm looking for this specific phrase, or I'm looking for something that talks about this certain topic. You can have the AI look through let's say you're teaching 2 classes, they're each 200 students each. You have now an AI that can go through all 200 papers in less than, exactly. In about a minute, 30 seconds, right? And it doesn't mean that you're getting rid of your TA. Now you can hand those results and say to your TA and say, hey, looks like we flagged, 25 or maybe, 13 students who are saying these things. Once you go and I want you to read the papers again, but pay special attention here, right? You don't want to trust everything implicitly to the AI, but it's giving you some more deeper insight. Let's assume maybe you are working on a campus and you now want to improve the marketing of that campus and say, I'm really trying to target this specific demographic. Here are some key things that they're saying from user experiences and from tests that we've run with our specific use cases and feedbacks. So what is a campaign that we can run based upon our campus brand and what they're saying? Give me your top 27 things, and don't take any one of them, right? Merge them all together yourself. Have it brainstorm or let brainstorm based upon what has said for you. But these are your employees. You can tell it anything you want to do, and it'll be able to execute something for you and help you just execute faster.
That's brilliant. So using AI as a thought partner in your tasks, in your execution, letting it help you brainstorm and ideate and come up with ideas that you then, with your own subject matter expertise and critical thinking, can then create something that is of the sufficient quality and expectation that you want to have. That's brilliant. Ben, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for jumping onto this podcast with me. You are an absolute gem of an individual, and this is just a pure delight. Thank you.
Oh man, well, thank you, Jake. It was fun to be here.
The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.